you know, when I think about who I am, I think I'm evolving. You know, I grew up in the projects, one of the poorest and roughest areas in my community in Columbus, Ohio. My mother was on drugs for years, grew up without a father. In fact, our home was a house where we had prostitution. Drug dealers sold drugs out of our home. I ended up dropping out of high school. It was hard to really focus on schoolwork. So when I think about who I am, I can't. I have to respect my past. I have to respect the fact that I started off hard, started off struggling. Now I'm at a place in my life where I accomplished some things. Again, I said I grew up without my father. My mother passed away about 10 years, so finally have an opportunity to meet my real dad, my biological father. Went to youth build, and it just got to a point where I needed more out of life, and I just focused. I started my own construction company after learning the construction trade at youth build, and I got pretty good in carpentry. In fact, I went to work at the union for a few years, and was apprentice in their apprenticeship program. So just who am I? I'm a lot of people, a lot of mentors. People like Dorothy Stoneman, people like Glenn Walters, John Dawson, Tony English, Gil Barno, all of these different people, Steve Boones of the world, Robert Dudley's, and you're just an amalgam of families, Uncle Shug, to Uncle Ronald, to Uncle Gerald, to my grandmother, to my mom and my aunts. I was raised by different people, if you will. Although I became homeless from 16 and to like 18, 19 years old, I was homeless. I couch surfed, had nowhere to eat. I ate out of trash cans before, which is something I really don't like talking about. Sold drugs. It was something I didn't want to do. I always hated it growing up. I hated drugs. I hated that life, and I didn't think I would become what I hated. And so finally I fought through that. I fought through that transition into youth build, transition to the workforce, transition into post-secondary education. I became a pastor, a minister, a pastor, played the drums. So I give back to my community as much as I can. Who is Mike Denny? I'm complicated. I'm still growing. I'm learning myself. Now that my dad is starting to be a part of my life. I'm learning who I am from that perspective, learning who I am as a man. I did the best I could. My mother did the best she could. Others did the best they could. Now more pieces to my life is added. So I don't feel like I'm complete, but I'm growing. It's quite simple. I mean, I'm a husband. I got married. I have 4 children of my own, raising my nephew, so that's 5 children. How my community plays a role, I mean, I wanted to give back, and I go back every year as much as I can, either to do food giveaways, to mentor people, to go back and do things for our church, our ministry, to recruiting for our youth build program, because I currently work as a director at my program, and I've been working there for over probably about 15 years now. So giving back to my community is not hard for me anymore, because I see a lot of people out there that still living that life, and I can look in their eyes and see the struggle. I can look in their eyes and see the pain, and it's sad. It's sad seeing young women still living that cycle of teenage pregnancies and having, multiple partners, and they're 13, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. Seeing brothers still selling drugs and in and out of prison, getting bound over at 15 into adult prisons. I mean, there's a lot of issues, and I'm doing my best, but there's more that I can do. There's more that can be done by our community, by other leaders, and I'm doing my best to help develop the next leaders. I haven't passed any torches because I'm still running myself. But at the same time, I'm doing as much as I can to be somebody that people can say this dude is doing his best. He's not perfect, but he's out here trying. And when I walk into my community, people know me. Kids know me. People respect me to a point where they put down the weed. They put down the alcohol. They throw their black and miles out of their mouths. And I think that came with over time with me holding true to form positive change. Wow. Before Youthville, I, man, it was hard. It was hard, man. Like I said before, growing up without my dad, my mom was on drugs. She put me out when I was like 16. I was doing okay in school. I could have did better, but I just wasn't focused. I ended up having my first child while I was in school. So I was a teenager, 17 years old. I had a baby on the way. I didn't know anything about being a parent. I was homeless. How am I gonna take care of a baby? I played sports. I did as much as I could. I played in the marching band. I tried to stay out of trouble, but then the more pressure started coming. In fact, I played basketball and I got cut from the basketball team. And it was sad because I was one of the best in the school. I was probably one of the top 3 or 4 players. There was like 4 or 5 players that made the team and took their jerseys off in front of the coach and said, "You need Mike Dean. Let Mike Dean play. He can have my spot." I mean, he had like 4 or 5 people that said that. And for me to look at the coach and plead my case and not knowing why he didn't allow me to play, it broke me. That was like the breaking, like being homeless, couch surfing. I was making it. To be honest, I was eating ramen noodles every day. However we, could make it. I had some support from extended family members, friends I grew up with, kind of supported me over time during my transition. So it wasn't too. I had a place to go, but then when I got cut from basketball, I lost it. I was drug free before that. I started smoking weed. I started drinking. I started partying. I wasn't even a party guy. My life just went down. Then, I sold weed. I worked at McDonald's. McDonald's was paying me $4.15 an hour. And, it just wasn't doing enough for me. My daughter came, and I'm looking at this baby, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to be here for her? I got to do what I got to do. So I started selling crack cocaine. And boom, I got deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And I was like, for me, I was one of those guys that I honored my peers. I was loyal. So I didn't really understand how dirty and grimy the street life really was, because I grew up in those environments, but I wasn't engaged. My mom would never allow us to engage in it. Once I engaged in it, it was pretty ruthless, cutthroat. I've seen a lot of things that I won't say on video. I've done things that I'll never repeat. I've done things that I regret. I remember selling drugs to a house, to a lady, and she had kids. It reminded me of how drug dealers did my mom. And she sold me all of her food stamps. She sold me their Nintendos. Back then, we didn't have Xbox 360. We had Nintendos and Segas and stuff like that. I think we may have had the PlayStation 1. But she sold me all their stuff for Christmas. And I started looking at myself like, man, this is not me. And finally, boom, one day I got hit by SWAT. The SWAT team kicked in my door late at night. It's in my book, What If I Had a Father, the Man I Never Knew. But I got hit by SWAT, and my daughter was 4 or 5 months in the house. My girlfriend, which is now my wife, was in the house. and I had to do something. Went to jail, first time ever going to jail. Somebody snitched on me, so it wasn't like I got caught because I didn't have the skills. You know, I got caught because I was in the game with no rules, and I try to play by rules. So how do you play a game that don't have rules, but you're trying to play with rules? And that's where my mind was, and boom, I went to jail, and I started thinking, like, I need to change. Make a long story short, got out of jail, went back to the streets. And it just wasn't working. I was walking with some friends, or, some guys, and we were going, pitch in and get a sack of marijuana. Everybody's gonna put 5. We said 5 on it. I got 5 on it, so like 6 or 7 people. So we was gonna party, if you will. I seen the SWAT team cutting grass. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute! I recognize that guy right there on the riding lawnmower. I said, I'm not going. I'm good. Give me my $5. I go get my own weed. I was scared. I was like, man, I could really go to prison. Cause the judge said, hey, look, if you don't change, if you do anything else, you're doing 7 years at least. If you just blink wrong, you're doing 7 years. And I was scared. So finally one day, I put down the drugs and stuff, and I was broke. I was used to making $500 to like $2,500 a day. I mean, so I had money to go from that to absolutely nothing. Went to Youthfield. I seen my wife, which was my girlfriend, saw an ad in the paper that said, "Earn while you learn." Youthfield in Columbus Works downtown at the YWCA. And I applied. She applied. We both got called back from Youthfield. We both joined Youthfield. She did Youthfield for a little bit, and I stuck with it. She went into the nursing field. I stayed with Youthfield, and that's how I got into Youthfield. Man, like I said before, I'm a loyal guy. I feel like that. I'm not perfect or nothing like that, but they were good to me. People that really believed in me, believed in who I was, always said something positive. A lot of constructive criticism, correcting me when I would bring my old ways into the program. When I first started on the program, I was still getting high. I can't lie. I was coming to work with weed in my pocket. We went to bars, that was on the corner, and one day I almost screwed I had a 1-inch drill bit. I was drilling for electric hose, and almost drilled a hole in my hand because I was drunk. I said, man, I'm done with this. I'm not getting high no more. They brought in counselors from Maryhaven, a guy named John Dawson. They came in, so they really they had the resources to bring people in that had the expertise to help us get off of drugs and those sorts of things. They brought in, they made promises that they kept, and I wasn't used to that. You can earn your GED. Everything was about earning. We weren't just gonna give it to you. You actually had to go. You had to be there. You had to be a part of it. And my mind began to expand as opportunities opened. And so I just stuck with it. It became my family. I had other friends and peers and stuff, but that wasn't the life I wanted to live anymore. So Youthfield was really all I had in terms of that type of outlet. Who I am now, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a pastor, I'm an author. That's where I'm at now. I'm doing my best to be a good husband. I'm doing my best to be a good father, to be the father I didn't have. Although I'm blessed to have my father in my life now, and we're gonna see what happens. And I just really believe that we're gonna have a really good relationship. However, I do my best as a leader, as a pastor in my local church here. I founded my own church called Power City Church, which it has its work. I'm a director at my local youth build program, so I moved up. I used to be the construction helper. I started out as a helper, then I became the manager, supervisor. Then I became construction manager. Then I became program manager. Then I became director. So all these years of just sticking with it, really not having my hand out in terms of, hey, give me a raise, give me a promotion, kind of just let it happen. Really wasn't looking for it. I mean, inside I wanted something more, but I wasn't always trying to push for it. I just wanted to help young people. So where I'm at now, I think I'm doing the things from on a higher level than I did before. I think I'm able to see it broader. I'm looking not from like the floor level, the ground level anymore. I'm looking more from, I'm a few steps higher. So my mind has expanded.
So what legacy do you want to leave? What do you want to leave behind when it's all over? You know, they speak of the day you're born and the day you die. That's what's on your tombstone. What do you want people to look at your dash and say, this was what was in between your dash?
You know, loyalty, love, somebody that worked hard, somebody that did their best to practice what they preach, not just in church or any religious institution, but just in general. I want to write more books. I want to be somebody that can contribute to organizations like Youth Build on a large level. I want to be a donor where I can donate millions of dollars and it don't hurt me, and help other causes that I'm interested in, like fatherlessness. And that's a real big thing for me. I want to be somebody that kind of a progenitor, if you will, to really bring fathers back, regardless of background, race, religion. I just want fathers to come back, because I believe if fathers come back and when fathers come back, our communities are going to be better.